Hey, fellow truth seekers, 113th episode here. Very important number in this study, this research that I'm presenting, mostly focused on the number 33. When you think about the number 113, you can see an 11 and a 3 in it. 11 times 3 is 33. The name Chief Seattle sums to 113. He gave his most famous speech on March 11th, 311. Both the names Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant sum to 113. They happen to be the only two players to ever three-peat in the history of the NBA Finals. The name NBA Finals sums to 33. The name Michael sums to 33. The name Kobe sums to 33. There's several of these examples. Another one, and the one I want to talk about, is George Lucas. So, George Lucas, the name, with the simple gematria method, sums to 113. He is credited with creating the film series known as Star Wars. Star Wars in gematria sums to 119. And what's interesting is in history, these numbers are paired together, 311 and 911. In World War II, before the United States entered the war, it was March 11th that FDR agreed to the Lend-Lease Act. That said that the U.S. military was essentially going to sponsor who became the Allied forces with them later, as well as the Chinese, going to support their Navy and other military infrastructure. Essentially, it was the day the United States first got involved in the war. This is before Pearl Harbor. The next date that the United States stepped into the war was September 11th, 6 months later exactly, when FDR gave the order that the U.S. Navy now had to go to attack Axis Navy vessels. So March 11th, September 11th. Later in history, just another example of March 11th and September 11th, the World Trade Center buildings were first proposed on March 11th, 1961 by David Rockefeller, while his family member Nelson Rockefeller was the governor of New York. Interestingly enough, the name Rockefeller sums to 110 in gematria, just like the name President, just like Osama bin Laden, just like Adolf Hitler. And those towers were 110 stories tall. What a coincidence, right? And then, of course, on September 11th, we all know what happened to those buildings. Again, on March 11th, 6 months after September 11th, there was something called the Tribute to Light, which lasted for 33 nights. Even more. But anyway, let's go back to Star Wars. And so now we just see that this 11-3, 11-9, it's not some arbitrary pairing. These are important numbers on some of the biggest events in our known history. I mean, when you think about people our age, within my age, that's people, let's say people from 20 to 40, in their minds, some of the biggest events that they know about are September 11th and World War II, especially if you're from the United States. And when it comes to movies, of course, one of the biggest movies people know about is Star Wars. All right. So, it gets more interesting. What I have down here are some dates. These are the release dates of the first three films. So 5/25/1977. The numerology of that day is 36. That's when Star Wars 1 was released. Empire Strikes Back was released May 21st, 1980, 3 years later. The numerology of that day is 26, the God number in gematria. The English alphabet is 26 letters. The word God is spelled G-O-D. That's 7 plus 15 plus 4. It sums to 26. These are old world principles in our new modern English language. And then the third film, which is on behind us, Return of the Jedi, that was released May 25th, 1983. The numerology of that date is 33. The other way to get the numerology of a date is to, okay, you know how you would write it out 5/25/83 without that 19 normally? You're just writing the date 5/25/83. 5 plus 25 plus 83 sums to 113, 113, just like George Lucas. So look at the numerology of that date, very special. Not only does it have a 33, it has a 113 in it. Also, that movie's called Return of the Jedi. Return is a word with 33 gematria. And if you look down at your keyboard right now, notice that return is at the end of the home row. The home row is the middle row on the keyboard. If you haven't seen my post on this, the home row sums to 33. The word return sums to 33. The word enter sums to 26. If you haven't seen my post on the ictus symbol and the often letter codings in it, from Darwin to in chips to the religious IEXOY, you need to check that out. It's all coded everywhere, even in the keyboard right in front of your face. Look at the Alt key. Alt ALT, the larger method, 1 plus 12 plus 20 sums to 33. If you spell out the word alternate and sum it with the reduce method, it also sums to 33. So anyway, back to Star Wars. Back to Star Wars. I can get tangential. It is known as an epic space opera. This is the gematria of these words using simple English gematria. Epic becomes 33. And if you follow my other posts, which are about a lot more than movies, they're about what's really going on in the world, from Ebola to this Canadian shooting to every shooting to pretty much everything in our media, it's all coded with this number 33. And what's funny is while I was doing this research, I kept saying out loud, it's like they've given us an epic to live through. But I never took the time to decode the word epic, and I still remember the day that I first did. I'd just gotten cable back in April, and there was a commercial on TV, and the word epic was just in huge bold letters, and I said, what's epic equal anyway? And I summed it up, and sure enough, it was a 33, and it made perfect sense to me. I feel like we people are living out an epic that's already been written for us. In a way, we're living out a movie, you might say. So anyway, look at the master numerology of this. Epic space opera, 33, 44, 55. If you add that all up, it sums to 132. That is the product of 3 times 44. And if you've been watching this movie behind me, you've seen a lot of 47, maybe without even knowing it. What is one of the most famous words from Star Wars, before I give it away, when you just think about it? Let's see. Did you think about it? I'm going to put it up. Okay, here we go. Force. Is the force with you? The gematria of force sums to 47, just like the word time. Another very important number in this whole numerology thing. Using the reduce method, lightsaber sums to 47. Think about boys and their lightsabers. Love them. And of course, the name Darth Vader also sums to 47. What's interesting about that is the words Caesar and president sum to 47, as well as obey and authority. These movies, I think they're really the powers that be trying to subtly show us the way things really are. And they do it through things such as this, Star Wars, movies that almost everybody's seen, but they really grasp the truth of. So, again, hope you learned something new. This movie coding of numerology, again, is not unique to Star Wars. It's pretty much all of Hollywood. Something I found really fascinating in the time I've been paying attention to this is every single movie I've seen, when I pay attention to the music credits, always a 33 name. Something about music in 33 is above and beyond. So that's the message. Until next time. Encore, encore. I forgot about another really important word in Star Wars, and that is Jedi, as in Jedi Knight. I didn't write up Knight up here, but Knight has the gematria of 33. I want to focus on Jedi and the gematria of 28. 28 in the real world represents complete because the solar cycle lasts 28 years. That's a complete year. The month of February is a tribute to that. That's why it's 28 days. So, with regards to George Lucas, he's born May 14th, 1944. The numerology of that date is 28, just like the word Jedi. And he lives in Modesto, California, which also has a numerology of 28. That reminds me of Oprah Winfrey, who lives on a 42-acre plot in Montecito. Montecito has a gematria of 42. That's the meaning of life number. Michael Jackson once had a life number of 42. And anyhow, I just want to give you guys that one last piece. I think that that's the final tribute there in that numerology. George Lucas, Jedi in disguise. So, hope you guys all learned something new.